The Celtics can't stop turning the ball over. I'll tell you why. The Robert Williams effect has something to do with that. And the mental part of the series. Forget the physical, forget the plays. We are now in a part of this series, of these playoffs, where this is all mental for the Boston Celtics. Plus, Marcus Smart is good, and hating on him now is bad. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you for making this show part of your daily routine and your first listen every day, Monday through Friday. There was a bonus podcast last night. It was 15 minutes and it was full of anger. So if you want that, you can go back and check that out. That was recorded at 2:30. I was exhausted and the Celtics pissed me off by playing the way they did. And so I let that be known. And it's funny that one of my regular people, listeners, just tweeted, as usual, I find my Celtics thoughts tracking those of John Karalis, whose optimism is showing cracks on today's show justifiably. So that's where we start this. I am John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I have written a book called Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars, and I was one of the media voters for the Celtics 75th anniversary team. And today I'm joined by my good friend, Tom_NBA, Tom Westerholm. How you feeling, my man?
I'm feeling tired.
Yeah.
We've talked about it. It's been quite the stretch here, but it is. And then the Celtics, the games all start at 8:30. You have no idea what's going to happen.
This is rough. The 8:30 starts or 8:45 starts.
Yeah, let's call it what it is.
Are tough, and that means and traveling back and forth to Miami, which is what I did. Getting there, getting back, it's on top of everything the Celtics are doing. There's added influences, so that definitely contributed to my mood after that game 3 debacle. And you know what, Tom? Still not over it. Still not feeling any better. And I'll tell you why, Tom. Because I hate when people make the same mistakes over and over again. I don't mind when people make mistakes. People make mistakes all the time. They gave me a podcast. That's their mistake. That's fine. But when mistakes are made and we say, oh, okay, you shouldn't do that anymore. You shouldn't over-penetrate and not give yourself an outlet. You shouldn't just go 1-on-3 knowing they're loading up on you. And when you are in that deep, make a pass directly to a member of the other team. Like, these are things that happen over and over again from the 2 best players on the team. And it's just, you watch that game 3 and you're like, God, man, this is just the same stuff. And it's been a while since the same stuff has plagued the Celtics. So I want to throw this out to you and just kind of get your, first of all, your just initial thoughts from that game. And please also justify my anger.
Listen, I will be happy to justify your anger. I thought that, it was funny when I was writing my takeaways last night. I think one of the things that I do think is happening is the Heat, the way they are defending the Celtics does seem to be bothering them for some reason. And I don't know if the timing is different in a way that that doesn't always kind of come through when you're watching, the timing on the way they attack these pick and rolls, the timing on the way they were trapping that. I think it was game 2 that didn't work at all, but just the way they're defending, it's kind of confounding that the Celtics keep like they've figured it out, right? Like in game 2, they figured out how to play against all of Miami's pressure and not turn the ball over constantly. The Heat are mostly still scoring in transition. Like it is like if the Celtics could cut that down, they would be up 3-0 right now. Like one game away from the finals. Like we'd be on the verge of Golden State Celtics, which is I think like that would be an elite finals.
That would be an amazing finals.
Yeah, it'd be really fun. And we could that could still happen. The Celtics just have to stop dribbling into a crowd. And they have to stop turning the ball over. And if they do, I think they win this series. But they haven't shown us that they are going to do that yet. So I don't know, man. It's that was my first thought watching that game, was just like they have figured this out before, and they should probably try to do it again very soon, because otherwise this series is going to go the other way very quickly.
Here's my theory. My theory on why this keeps happening is that in game 2, they had Rob.
Yeah.
Game 3, they didn't. Game 1, they didn't, right? Like they.
Yep.
So when the Celtics throughout the course of the season, I think this is where the Robert Williams impact is really felt, and also the habits. And we had a lot of fun over the course of the season saying, oh, man, whenever they get into trouble, man, they just lob that thing up there and Rob just goes and gets it. And whoa, boy, and we had a lot of fun with that. And what we didn't say is, oh, man, if they ever don't have Rob, they're still going to get themselves in this kind of trouble. Like, they're not the team that's going to say, oh, I don't have Rob, I'm just going to stop over penetrating. I think the over penetration is a problem that Robert Williams just masked all year long. And they could fix it and get away with it against, look, I don't want to say fix it and get away. Like they went 7 games against Milwaukee. Right. They still got into trouble and turned the ball over. And it was still the same over penetration and stuff. But when Rob is there and you get 3 guys on you and you over penetrate, you just go whoop. Right. And there it is. There's an alley-oop. And he's always there for that. And you even saw it in some of the turnovers that Jayson Tatum committed early on, trying to just throw a lob to Rob that was just kind of a little ill-advised. But you throw ill-advised passes because Rob just goes and gets any stupid pass that you throw. So my feeling is that it's the over-penetration. When I say stop the over-penetration, I don't think it's going to stop. I just don't think it's going to stop because they have learned, and it's impossible when we talk about habits. It's impossible at this point to change this habit for an extended period of time. Maybe you can get into their heads, and these guys can stop doing it for little stretches. But I think if Rob is there in game 4, no problem. I think a lot of these traps are going to end up becoming lobs, or they'll work. Mm-hmm. Or they're so concerned with Rob that they don't load up the same way, right, and you can get through that wall. So my theory is simply that Rob has masked a lot of mistakes because people could just be like, oh, crap, boop. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And when he's there, Miami knows about that, and he can create so much gravity that either the traps aren't there the same way and these guys can go back and score, or if Miami does sell out, that Rob's going to be there to bail them out.
Honestly, I think that's a really good theory, and I think especially I think that's especially good because when you consider that like what you said, it's not just that they're going to lob it up to him. It's also, even if they throw a bad lob to Rob, it reminds everybody else, hey, like there's that guy back there, right? Like, yeah, you might, maybe
when they miss one, they're like, oh, we got away with one.
Ooh, yep, that was tight.
Ooh, he almost got us there. Let's not have that happen.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think I honestly think that's a pretty good theory, and I think one of the things that you look back on, obviously they won that Milwaukee series without Rob, but the thing with Milwaukee was you could over penetrate because they just didn't have they did force some turnovers, but like they also had guys who you could definitely attack, and Miami does too, but they've done a much better job of masking it. And, whether it's that zone, having the guys come out of the corner on their zone the way they do, that for some reason they've got like athletic enough guys in the corners of that zone to make it work. Like Miami just has better ways of preventing their targetable guys from getting targeted. Milwaukee just did not have that. Miami does. And Miami, is taking advantage in a lot of ways, I think. So yeah, no, I think the Rob Williams theory makes a lot of sense. I think, and the other thing too is like it helps the two primary ball handlers so much, because it helps Tatum so much and it helps Smart so much. And like if those two guys are just so much less impeded driving to the paint, everything else is just smoother. Everything else is just kind of like flowing because those are the guys who are generally penetrating so much. So yeah, no, I'm on board with that theory.
So now the question is, where do the Celtics go with this? Because Rob, I think this might end up becoming like an every other day kind of thing with Robert Williams. If he's going to miss like every other game, then I don't know. The Celtics are going to be in a little bit of trouble with that. They need him there. They just need him there. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the Kyle Lowry and the other guys, the impact. First, let's talk about Sakara. Sakara is it's going to help you feel your best, because feeling your best starts with what you eat. And Sakara helps you live a healthy, balanced lifestyle and truly enjoy it with delicious, plant-rich, transformational nutrition that builds a foundation for living in your best body. We talk a lot about these guys, these athletes, going to plant-based foods. Some of these older players going plant-based diets. It's really helped them a lot. Sakara is a wellness company anchored in food as medicine, on a mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. Sakara gives you tools that you need to transform your life with their organic, ready-to-eat meal delivery program and functional wellness essentials. Their nutritionally designed, chef-crafted breakfast, lunch, and dinners are made with powerful plant-rich ingredients helping boost your energy, support your digestion, curb your sugar cravings, which is gigantic, and get your skin glowing, because why not? Plus, it's all delivered right to your door. It's ready to eat. It's functional, plant-rich wellness that helps you create your body, a body that you love living in. And that's super important. And think about that impact on your mental health as well. From their best-selling Metabolism Super Powder to the Foundation, their daily supplemental packs, Sakara products are designed to support your wellness goals anytime, anywhere. Right now, Sakara is offering Locked On Celtics listeners 20% off your first order when you go to sakara.com/lockedon20 or enter code LOCKEDON20 at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/LOCKEDON20 to get 20% off your first order. Sakara.com/LOCKEDON20. Creeping up on draft time, so make sure you go check out Locked On NBA Big Board with host Rafael Barlow from the NBA Draft Junkies, and he is the author of the NBA Big Board newsletter. He's joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, Leif Doolin, giving you an in-depth look at the NBA draft, the mock drafts, player rankings, all that stuff. Rafael Barlow is there himself. He's in Chicago at the Combine. I've seen him going across Europe. Check him out. He's definitely very, very knowledgeable. He'll help you with your draft coverage. Locked On NBA Big Board, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get back to Game 3, where the Celtics just completely, Tom, gave away this game. Gave it away. I can't. I want to give Miami due credit for playing the defense that they played, right? And the Heat Twitter account tweets out this whole thing about, we're just going to play. We're going to put all this stuff out there about defense. And like, that's great. That's great. But like, Kyle Lowry is not a 4-steal-a-night guy. Bam Adebayo is not a 4-steal-a-night guy. Victor Oladipo is not a 4-steal-a-night guy. They are good defenders, but they're not going to go out there and get you 4 steals every night. That's just outrageous. So much of this, okay, so we get the Robert Williams thing, but at the same time, the handle, like Jaylen, I can't even give Jaylen credit for a great offensive game.
No.
Because he's just out there at critical times dribbling like straight into people, like just dribbling straight at them with the ball out front. Like, keep the damn dribble tight and stay in control. Now, one thing he said after the game, it was funny because he was like, I'm not going to make any excuses, but I get fouled. And I don't want to make excuses, but there's some fatigue involved. And like, if you want to say like, hey, you know, we're tired and I'm getting fouled. And
Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's fine. That's the truth. That's the truth. But he did want to make it clear, like, no excuses, but also a couple of things here.
Yeah, let me make a little excuse.
Couple.
I also thought it was funny because, like, Jaylen, buddy, the Celtics outshot the Heat 30-14 at the free throw line, and the only reason it was that close was because the Celtics fouled toward the end. The free throw disparity was comical. I don't know what was going on. I mean, I don't think like the fix was in or any like, you know, stupid crap like that. But like the Celtics had a very friendly whistle. You know, Saturday 2 nights ago when you guys were listening to this was not the night to complain about the free throws.
No,
if you ask me.
it was not.
So that was kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. You know, like if you're gonna make an excuse, make an excuse. Like I'm not against excuses. I've got all kinds of excuses all the time. But like, you know, like, but yeah, just kind of stick to your guns and say it out loud.
But you know,
and more importantly, like it has been weird to watch his handle. Like he really improved a lot over the course of like the last like 2 years. And he kind of like it almost feels like a regression this series. Like it's very strange.
Yeah, you got to remember he had that wrist surgery though, and like that cost him a whole summer. And when you can't dribble, like he couldn't cross over, he couldn't do anything. So like you can dribble with one hand, like, but you can't dribble with that left hand. So I do think that he has worked.
Played a part.
Yeah, I think that he's worked really really hard because he couldn't dribble before. Like he was just bad like early on. And then I do remember, like, prior to the injury, like last season, he had one dribble move. My God, I think it was against San Antonio, where he went, like, between the legs and spun. Like, it was, like, instinctive, and it was one of the most amazing dribble moves I've ever seen him make. I think it was in San Antonio last season. And I was like, wow, but now it has taken, I think, a bit of a regression. And I do think that the off-season surgery last summer kind of cost him a bit.
Yeah.
Which means that one of the priorities here has to be that he gets back onto a dribble program and, you know, spends the summer kind of working on that. I'd like to see a little bit of some like if we're sending him home with some homework there, that's going to be the homework that we're sending him home to. But anyway, look, they got Kyle Lowry back, and Lowry was fine, but I didn't like. He had 6 assists. The big impact was him like early on pushing it and pushing the pace. But he settled down, and they didn't have Jimmy Butler in the second half. I don't understand the Celtics just not taking advantage of that.
What it looked like to me was just a matter of like you know, obviously the Celtics did kind of trickle back into the game, right? But they never like turned on the faucet all the way. They never could like kind of get that like just this outpouring of like, you know, stops and buckets and everything. I think the Heat are just they're tough to rally against because like, yeah, Jimmy Butler went down, but they got good players, man. Like there's a lot of good players on that team. And it's the NBA. Like if good players are playing hard, I understand. Like, you know, Jayson Tatum is probably better than anybody on the Heat. You know, Jaylen is right up there with the Heat's best players. Like the Celtics have the talent, but like the Heat have like I don't know, man. Like we've like Heat culture seems real because it's
definitely real.
You know, like I do think that like this Heat team, there is something to be said for good players just playing really freaking hard. And that's, to me, that's what, you know, that's what the second half looked like. Like, yeah, give the Celtics a little bit more time. I think, you know, if that was an unending second half, I think the Celtics come out ahead. Even with that final run where Strus hits the 3, the Celtics were coming back. They would have eventually overtaken them, but like you dig yourself a hole, and especially against a team that's pretty good and plays really hard, it's just going to be hard to dig all the way out of that. They're going to keep forcing you to slip back down into the, you know, down to the bottom of that hole. So Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. I just think like you can't give the Heat a 26-point cushion. I don't feel like that's a particularly controversial take, but yeah, I just think that's what it comes down to.
Hot take, Tom.
Yeah. Everybody knows me for my hot takes.
If they had the Elam ending and it was 115, Celtics might have won that game. But
sure, yeah.
Still, okay. So let's get into these quarters because I have to say that I misspoke in last night's podcast. The Celtics have lost 2 quarters. That doesn't mean that they won 10 quarters. Right. They've tied a bunch of quarters. I misspoke, and I know people in the comments, especially Heat fans, when the other team's fans are in your mentions, you got to get it perfect, or else they're going to be like, I don't think so. I don't think that's how it went, buddy. Yeah, I get it. They tied the third quarter. The Celtics have only lost 2 quarters, and they've lost 2 games. But the way
I hope the Heat fans come after you for your characterization of them right there now.
Hey, I've been in Miami. They all talk exactly like that. That's exactly. I've talked to many Heat fans. They all kind of talk like this. They're kind of like Men in Black. Was that Vincent D'Onofrio? That character, that alien. All kind of like this. That's kind of how I think of Miami fans.
I like it.
That's pretty. I mean, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I mean that's pretty dead on. It's pretty right on, spot on.
Respect.
Yeah. So, and anybody who says otherwise, any of the Miami Heat fans say otherwise in the comments, you're just lying because you're embarrassed by, the way you're talking
like this.
Because you talk like this, and it's just I don't know why. What the hell is going on with these quarters where the Celtics cannot pull out of the tailspin? Actually, let's put this. I'll pose that question, and then I will come back with Tom_NBA's answer after I tell you about our partners at BetOnline, which is your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports information. In fact, I'm pulling up betonline.net right now. I'm going to say I had the Celtics. I still think the Celtics are favored coming into this game. Let's see if I am correct that the Celtics would be favored. Because, I don't know, I feel like that's something that is still at home. Oh, hey, whoa! Not only are they favored, they're favored by 6.5. So BetOnline and the folks in Vegas and the odds makers believe in the bounce back. They believe in the Celtics not losing 2 in a row. You believe in the Celtics? You want to take them at -6.5? Go on over to BetOnline. Get all those latest odds like I just did. Basketball playoffs. Obviously, you got the conference semifinals. Major League Baseball. Anybody who bet on the Red Sox got a nice cover with the walk-off grand slam on Saturday. Cool moment though, by the way, with the Red Sox walking out of onto their road trip wearing all Celtics gear. So head on over to BetOnline, use their website, check out, use your mobile device, learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. All right, Tom, I posed the question to you before. What did the Celtics? What's with these quarters like this one in the third quarter in Game 1, where I'm really stumped because they can't just give up a 12-2 run and say, all right, we got this. They give up these monster 39-18 type quarters. And I, for all of my analysis and, I think I've got all the answers. I got nothing here, man. I don't understand why they can't, 5 minutes into this quarter be like, all right, you know what? We're gonna go on an 8-0 run here. We're gonna put this thing. We're gonna stem the tide here a little bit.
It's really weird because, like, I first off, I was kind of hoping that you would forget what you sent it to the ad break for because I don't have any answers. Like, I don't know. I feel like if I knew what was going on here, I would be making a lot more money and also, would not be allowed to share my Celtics opinions on a podcast. But I do think that like this is one of the reasons why I'm uncomfortable with saying the Celtics are just throwing games away. Because as much as it looks like that, it does feel like this has to be at least something the Heat are doing. Whether it's like, like you look at Game 1, right? Like all of that quarter was just Jimmy Butler jumping passing lanes and running the other way. And like, yeah, the Celtics made some questionable passes, but like that has to be somewhat on like the instincts of the Heat, the defensive instincts, the, you know, just kind of the way that they can overwhelm you for a stretch, right? Like, because I don't think that like the Celtics are bad at passing to the next man. Like that seems like a very basic thing that we've seen them do many times. And I mean, it feels like the Heat must have a fair amount to do with that. I don't know what it is, but I don't have a better explanation than that the Heat just kind of kick the Celtics ass for like, you know, a short stretch, right?
Yeah,
like I don't
like
you have something better.
No, but I mean, no. That's why I was hoping you had an answer. But it's
my answer is just wow, Jimmy Butler good.
Yeah, but Marcus Smart said it after like he was asked like in game 1 when we didn't have you when you weren't out there. What were you saying to these guys? And the answer was like, you know, like basically wake up. Like wake up. Because Marcus said, you're looking right at Jimmy Butler. He's looking directly at you. And you threw the ball right to him.
You can see him.
I can understand if, you know, an old fat guy like me, you know, never played a second in the NBA, never even sniffed the NBA, be like, I don't understand why you're doing that. And people in the NBA be like, well, actually they did blah, 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 and they baited him into it and so on and so forth. Like, okay, sure. But Marcus Smart is like, no, he's looking right at you. And you were like, here you go. And like, I just don't, why are you doing that? Why? The Celtics, and Tatum did it again in the third quarter of last night, third quarter, fourth quarter, where he just turns and he sees a guy. This is where my best explanation is that sure, and I will admit, I have not given the Heat a whole lot of due credit for what they've done because the Heat have to go out there and defend and be physical and all of that. And I'm sure the Heat fans will sit there and tell you that I'm being dismissive of Miami's success here. But that's because I think they suck, and I think Boston's a much better team. No, I'm only kidding. They're a very good team. It's because I think I don't understand why you're saying all of that, John. I think the Celtics are the better team, and also the Celtics are making dumb mistakes. I will give Miami all the credit in the world for defending the Celtics hard, okay? Yeah. But also, the Celtics are doing very dumb, very correctable things. That if they didn't do the things that they did, just it's not that they were forced into that. Sure, a couple of those turnovers, great defense. Great defense, man up, tip the ball away, understanding tendencies, great. No problem. The Celtics turned it over 23 times. Miami had 19 steals. That's an insane number.
Crazy.
19. I will say, fine. You want 9 steals? I'll give you 9 steals. That's good. That's a good game. 9 steals. Wow, that's an amazing defensive game. 10? 10 is like, whoa, double-digit steals? Wow. And they're all like, that's all live ball. You're going the other way with that. Yep, that's crazy.
Yep.
19 is nope. You got to get some help to get to 19. That is if you and me and 3 other sports writers got together against the Miami Heat and played a quarter, like that's when of course you'd steal the ball 19 times. Like, but against another team, the number 2 seed in the East, that the Celtics are complicit in turning the ball over 19 times live ball like that, steals, like that cannot happen. And that's where I get when people say, you know, where did your positivity go? I mean, I generally skew positive as a person. Like I generally don't want to be happy and positive and all of that stuff. But like, I'm not going to be positive when it doesn't call for it. Like if right. You know, when all of my positivity all season long started out with like, I know this team could be better than this. Like I knew it, and they were. And when I knew they are worlds better than Brooklyn. I knew that they were better than Milwaukee, and I know that they're better than Miami. It's just the positivity in like last night. And I'll pose this question to you too. Like last night was the first like moment I had of whoa. Are they just not ready for like this kind of path? Because let's be honest, like Brooklyn for the sweep, it was still 4 close games, and you had to get past Kevin Durant, and it was a physical series. Milwaukee was just everybody hitting each other with 2x4s, and Miami is here, and they're a very tough. They are an elite defense, and like Jimmy Butler takes his mind to another level. Like, are they just not ready for like this path? Are they worn down? Have they had enough? Are they just like, not again? And then you have to get from this to the finals and have to play potentially, if you play Dallas, they were one of the best defensive teams, especially in the second half of the season. Golden State was one of the best defensive teams.
Fits. Not for nothing. They gave the Celtics fits.
Right. Like, to be a champion, you got to go through 4 rounds of hell. This is just a different animal. Are the Celtics is it as simple as, like, we're too caught up in the fact that they've been good and we believe in their talent, but they're just not ready they're just not ready for this moment. Like, I don't want to say that, but is it possible that we're starting to see maybe they're not?
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't say that. To me, I think but I think it might be kind of a cousin of that, which is, we talked during the Milwaukee series about how hard that series was, and you just said it. Like, it was just guys hitting each other with 2x4s for 7 games. Like, you get done hitting it, you get done getting hit by 2x4s for 7 games. It would be somewhat understandable if you were just like, oh my gosh, the Heat are just hitting us with 2x4s. I'm so sick of getting hit by 2x4s in these playoffs. And like, if that's what's happening in those huge quarters, I do kind of get that, right? Like the Celtics, like, I would have to imagine they are exhausted. Physically, I think we're starting to see the effects of it, right? Like, guys are just getting hurt like a little bit here and there. Like, you're starting to see it. Smart sprained his ankle. Tatum got a stinger. I mean, that could happen anytime, of course. But at the same time, like, the wear and tear is starting to get really real. I would imagine that the mental wear and tear is starting to kind of, take a toll too. Like, it has been a really grueling stretch for the Celtics. They had to beat the Nets. They had to beat the Bucks. It took them 7 games to beat the Bucks, and that was just a brutal series. Maybe the Heat just kind of hit the Celtics really hard, and it just takes a little bit longer to kind of regroup and come back. And we've seen them do it, right? Like, they did kind of regroup, and they did come back in both of these games. They made something of a run back, something of a pushback. But, like, I don't know, man. Like, so maybe if you say they're not ready, as in they're just kind of worn down and they need to learn how to not be worn down by the 3rd series, then maybe, yeah. But I think that maybe they're tired. I don't know. I think
they're tired.
No Celtics fan is going to like hearing me say that, because they're going to be like, excuses, you're 23.
No, right? But I mean, it is what it is, right?
I think they're tired, man.
I think they are tired. Yeah. I think they are tired. And, like, look, this is part of being good enough to win a championship. Like, that's right. Just
exactly. You have to, exactly.
Like, and again, I'm not sitting here trying to cater to Miami Heat fans, because I don't want to hear, like, well, what are you, excuses? We're tired. We're tired too.
Right.
But, like, also, you got through Philly with half a Harden. I mean, like, not even half a Harden. You had half an Embiid and, like, barely a Harden.
Well, they had full playoff.
Yeah, I mean, like, you went through the Hawks. They weren't ready. Come on. Like, that was just, but that's what you get the number 1 seed for. That's what that's the advantage. You're the number 1 seed. Like, that's what you get. You deserve that.
In the same way the Celtics deserved to have Game 7 against the Bucks at home, the Heat deserve to have this much easier, run to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's how it goes.
And not for nothing, they earned that by beating the Celtics in the regular season. Like, that game, like, that was kind of for all the marbles, that late game, regular season game.
So, look, I don't think the Celtics are. I pose the question because, like, being not ready. I don't think that that's it. I don't. But that also encompasses a lot. Like, they're also not ready as a team. They were never constructed. Like, this was never a team constructed to win the championship. So it's hard when Ime, like, the only chance that they have is riding these guys 42 minutes. And, like, Jaylen has a point. Like, 42 minutes of NBA basketball is just an insane amount of time. And like, yeah, by the end, you've got Bam Adebayo and all these guys just pounding the hell out of you, and you're playing for 42 minutes. That's that's hard. And only Bam played 40 plus minutes. You got they really did a good job. Their depth is paying off. You throw 20 minutes of Victor Oladipo out there, and you get the last 10 minutes of Victor Oladipo, who's fresh, against the 35th through 42nd minute of Jaylen Brown, and you're like, oh, okay, that the hands just get a little bit quicker. So that's just Miami was built for this, and this was supposed to be a different kind of season. Like this is all gravy right now for the Celtics. But at the same time, I'm not ready for just gravy. I think this team is good enough. We'll have to see. Like this is where your mentality is tested. This is where can you take your body to a place you didn't think it can go? Can you, Jaylen and Jayson, in the midst of, okay, it's game 3 of the semifinals, and you let it slip because you're tired, and that's part of the media session. His fatigue is like mentally, he's sick of everything right now. And the last thing is he's sick of me asking him a question. And he's like, yeah, what do you think? Like he gave me the what do you think? Like I know he's tired, but like when you're letting that slip, when you're usually good about dropping the cliches and you're letting it slip, like I don't want to make excuses, but I am some fatigue. You're like, well, then there's a lot of fatigue there because your brain just can't help it. Yep. It's like one of those bad tweets that you sent out. Or when you interact with somebody that you're like a troll, you're like, I'm exhausted. I don't want to, but screw you. I'm answering. I'm engaging. Yep. Like that's the moment that he's having. So,
which is like 2/3 of the Twitter experience these days, for the record. But yes.
Yeah, totally. So this serves as the pregame for, and my confidence in this team is still pretty high. Talent-wise, I think if they are able to play the right way and focus and move the ball and stop over penetrating and all that stuff, Rob or no Rob, and I feel like Rob might be there, then they can be fine. It's don't play into the Miami hands. But a lot of this now is starting to turn mental. In fact, I would say almost all of it has started to turn mental.
Agreed.
This is the biggest test for right now. The Celtics, it's been clear in these first few games. This is now a completely mental challenge for the Boston Celtics. Can you get past this place? And this is where only like a small percentage, the Jordans of the world, right? Kobe had it. Like those elite guys who are like, you're going to have to chop my legs off to stop me now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that mentality. You got to find that place. What the Kevin Garnett, that audible snap in your brain that gets you to a place on the floor that makes you go, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care how tired I am. I don't care. I don't feel it. I'm making this play and I'm doing the right thing. And you're just that laser focus to tell your body, no, we're not tired.
Yeah.
That's like an impossible thing to ask, but that's what the champions do. And that's where they got to get to.
And like, not to put too fine a point on it, but that's what Marcus Smart is doing. Like,
yeah,
that dude
that's true.
That dude sprained the crap out of his ankle.
That was bad.
And he told him, and you could see, like, he came hobbling back out. That dude should not have been on a basketball court. He came back out. Like, everybody's got to do that. Like I think if there's one thing we're learning about Marcus Smart, like this season, these playoffs, is that like not only is he like capable of being a primary ball handler, all this stuff, like facilitator, like it's not really a surprise, but he's got it. Like that mental, like that factor that you just can't quite, like, even when he gets deep into the playoffs, he's got it. He's ready for it. Everybody else has got to do it too.
I'm going to, because we're up against the time here.
Yeah.
this is going to be a rant for another
excited.
After Marcus Smart went down with that ankle, and you saw the replay, that dude basically landed with it sprained. Like, that was a bad sprained ankle. For Smart to come out and play is the type of stuff that earns people's respect. And there are a lot of people who still harbor some animosity towards Smart. And if that moment, if you can't get on board with Smart after that moment, then take a look in the mirror. You're an asshole, because that's the exact type of moment where you talk about like legendary stuff. Yeah. That's the type of stuff you want from a guy. Everything I just said, you had the perfect response for it, Tom. You said Marcus Smart is doing, like, damn right he is. Damn right he is. If everybody had Marcus Smart's mentality, Celtics win this series. They win this series.
Win the championship by quite a bit.
Yeah, by a lot. Right. They can still do this and say, if everybody had, you could do like a Disney mind transfer, take his brain and just put it into everybody else's brain. This is boom. Celtics win the next 3 games going away. But there are still people who still harbor things against Marcus Smart. Like, get over yourself. Like, it's done. It's over. Appreciate what the hell this guy can do. I'm going to stop there because I can keep on going, and I'm going to stop. But that's that. Ugh. Okay. No, I'm stopping. Tom, thank you for coming on. Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, Marcus Smart, good. Just for the record. I agree with you. We good.
Marcus Smart is good. Hopefully this podcast is good. And you're still here, and that means that you enjoyed it and you are subscribing. And if you want to subscribe via audio, wherever you get your podcasts, however you want to listen, this podcast can be found wherever podcasts exist. It's on YouTube, so you can watch the show on YouTube. You can see my spot on, 100% accurate Miami Heat fan impression. The facial, I think, really the face that they make when they talk is part of the thing. So you got to make sure you get that whole impression, because I can't tell you how accurate that impression is. So watch the show on YouTube. Share the podcast if you could, if you want to help me get to that 6,500 subscribers by the end of this series, which hopefully continues on at least 6 games. And share the podcast. Tell your friends. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.